Welcome back to Up to Speed, StarCraft The Story So Far, Heart of the Sworn Special Edition. We have been talking about some incredible things so far about Sarah Kerrigan and the wisdom of Zeratul versus her power. But there's also some questions from chat, Lauren.
There are a few questions. So let's go back a few questions, because I've had people asking questions throughout this, and I just write them down. The first one is, how did the Protoss reproduce?
Are they ready for the birds and the bees of the Protoss, Sixen? I don't know if they can.
Not sure.
From my understanding, and I will do some more research into this. And Blizzard, I know some of you are watching. If you have answers, be sure to chime in on Twitter. I am Lauren Elise, Sixen, Clutch08. But from my understanding, it has to do with the power of the crystals. And that's pretty much all I know. I don't even know if they have reproductive organs for that race.
They're the Protoss.
Been a question that people have been asking for a long time, and I want to say that one of the developers just answered it over the last couple months in one of the Q&A, the story Q&A sessions that they did. I think there was 12 or 14 of them, and I can't remember what it was for the life of me. So I'm sorry. We'll do more research for sure. I'll tweet it out.
We will get that. Yeah, we will get that question answers. We'll tweet it out. But it is a good question. Because
next question.
All right, next one.
Do you think that the story is consistent between Brood War and StarCraft 2?
Yes, and I know a lot of people have been like, well, this isn't the same Jim Raynor that was in Brood War because he said he was going to kill the Queen of Blades. And how come nobody talks about the UED? That's a lot. I don't mean to be facetious, but that's what I hear from a lot of people. And that is addressed from Blizzard directly in the Q&A section. But we also talked about that in our previous episode, Sixen, where, the 4 years it's a difference. A lot changed in the first StarCraft game, but in the second StarCraft game, not a whole lot of things changed geopolitically. It was just strictly into the Brood War, and then Earth showing up. Earth got annihilated. Well, the UED
so they just added some new characters.
Yeah, a lot did happen, but it was more central to specific characters in specific places with the Brood Wars, rather than so much what happened in StarCraft 1.
Some of that may tie in relatively soon.
Yes, we shall see. But yes, I do believe it's consistent. Also, when you have a gap of 12 years that you have to fill and to maintain the same experience that I had as a young teenager into the 20s, to connect that, there's going to be a little bit of disconnect because of the time frame. However, I still feel the characters are true to what they were in Brood War. The universe is still true to what it was in Brood War, and it still is a brutal place. But the relationship between Jim and Sarah is more highlighted thanks to the novels and the route they wanted to take.
There's been a lot of time.
And there's been a lot of time. The love
has grown.
Yeah, distance makes the heart grow fonder or something like that.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
No.
In this case, it's time makes the heart grow fonder.
That's right. 12 years.
Oh, and distance. I mean, what are they, galaxies apart?
Almost.
Possible.
One more question, Lauren, before we move on.
Okay. Okay, so then pick red or blue.
Red.
Okay. What happened to Xeris?
Xeris.
Okay, wait, I'm not finished. What happened to Xeris, and why is it all jungly when my
SC1 StarCraft 1 manual.
I'm just laughing because I didn't even read the question yet. Why is it all jungly when my SC1 manual says that it's going to be a volcanic world? And where were the larvae when they were supposed to be Zerg?
And weren't the larvae the actual Zerg? Well, I don't think these...
Great question.
I had to ask that with some attitude, because there's attitude.
Why don't we get into Xeris right now?
We're going to get into Xeris. I don't think these planets are the same in Star Wars, where it's all one climate for the planet like Hoth or Endor.
Not only that, but again, it's been what, since StarCraft 1?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Couple of years at least.
Long time.
20-something years.
Let's dive into the history of the Zerg here, my friend, which is really, really highlighted very well in this piece of the story. Zeratul is with Kerrigan as they go to this planet. And as Lauren said with the question said, it is very jungly. It's a very harsh planet in terms of the jungle and the type of creatures that live there. And they talk a lot about essence. What type of essence we talking about, Sixen? You reviewed it before. Let's go back into it again.
I was waiting for the clip, Clutch. Where was the clip?
Essence. We'll have it next time. There we go. There we go. Awesome.
So yeah, essence, like I said before, very important. Again, it's like a DNA sequence that they wish to seek out. Again, so Primal Zerg want it, Queen of Blades Zerg, Overmind Zerg, Gazelle Naga Zerg, whatever you want to call it, Modern Zerg, everybody, all the Zerg want it. It's all very important. So this is what, again, we're going to be collecting. So it helps the Zerg transform, it helps them morph and mutate into new I don't even know what to call them, mutations, I guess,
strands,
for lack of a better word.
Yeah, exactly. And Abathur says it very well of trying to chase perfection. You cannot achieve perfection. It's something you always have to chase. And I think that was
again, Abathur, obsessed with efficiency and perfection. Very, very
He
important.
could write a novel, The Philosophy of Abathur, about perfection and strands. I would, honestly, I would love to write a book, and the way that he sequences his sentences, I think would be great.
Do it.
That's
actually very important. I was going through that before, and he seems to like leave out certain words. Again, I feel like it goes back to the fact that he's obsessed with being efficient. He leaves out words that are completely unnecessary. As long as he gets his point across, as long as he gets that generic thought out of his mouth, that's all he needs to do. Efficiency, man.
He likes dealing with efficiency and absolutes. Well, there's another thing that maybe is not as efficient, and that's independence, which is different from the swarm that the Primal Zerg have. The Primal Zerg are introduced, and they can talk, and they can say, we want nothing to do with you, corrupt Zerg, fallen Zerg. And you can see the type of mentality that they have on this planet. They are a tribal type of species where they follow the pack leader. And Zeratul is very, very adamant with Sarah about putting her on the right path. And this goes into that independence path. He's telling her there is power here of the ancient Zerg that you need to unlock. And Sarah's still not really trustful of Zeratul. There's still some bad blood between them, mostly on Sarah's part because she's really angry at him for fighting her as the Queen of Blades. But, if you're trying to defend yourself, that's what happens. However, he simply makes sure she's on the right path and lets her take it from there. And one is revealed. And this guy is another great addition character-wise to the Heart of the Swarm. His name, Zervan. He is the Ancient One, the one who remembers what the Primal Zerg were like before Amon. The huge reveal of who the Dark Voice is comes from someone that remembers what the universe was like before his presence. The Dark Voice is Amon. The Dark Voice is a rogue Xel'Naga. 2 questions answered from our last episode by those conversations with Zervan. And when he said that, I was floored. He has a name.
Oh, yeah, man.
His name is Amon.
Gasp. What is this nonsense, right? So this is definitely what I would call number 2 nerd chill. So this is like the next chain of events. Huge, huge, huge. I couldn't believe that. Remember when we talked about this in the last episode, we weren't sure. What is the Dark Voice? What is he? Xel'Naga? Possibly. Who knows? This is interesting because this means that it was Amon who actually took part in creating, or rather uplifting, the Zerg and creating the Overmind, and it was his taint that was within the Overmind. And Kerrigan touches on this very shortly about how she could sense and feel the taint of Amon.
Well, and also the parameters of control he put on the Zerg to influence them, to control them, was with the hive mind sense, the Overmind. They were all connected with that one mind. The Primal Zerg are not connected in that way. They fight, they collect their enemies that they've killed essence, and they evolve. And the sense of implied free will. Like, well, yes, I'm not really controlling you. I'm just sending you influences. That's implied free will. That's not free will.
Right.
Of course,
it makes you feel like it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we feel influential, in our lives, but if somebody is controlling you subtly, that's still a form of control. And it reminds me, and talking about Diablo as we did before, the things that Chris Metzen borrows from Judeo-Christianity in stories and tales, this almost sounds like the Lucifer complex of, Lucifer wanted control, and he wasn't allowed that control, and therefore he fell. It seems that Amon probably wanted control. He said, why do we have to elevate these races on their own? Why can't we control them, guide them, be completely in their lives and tell them what to do in order to be like us? And the Xel'Naga probably said, no, they have to find out for themselves as a species. Amon's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to control the Zerg, wipe all you guys out, and take control of what I want and destroy what you created. I have a feeling maybe that's where it's going to lead down with the Golden Age of the Xel'Naga and what happened. Those are just the StarCraft theories, according to Clutch. We'll see what happens, though, in Legacy of the Void as more things are revealed. Let's get back into Zervan in the game. He guides Sarah to evolve. And this is where some of the fears of some people, oh, no, she's going to be Zerg again? Really? But it's different. And it also, when you understand the motivations of Sarah, it makes sense. Go ahead, Kevin.
I just wanted to say, I thought this part was really cool as well. We actually got to see the first ever spawning pool. That's where she went to evolve, and that's where that little chrysalis egg thing was. It was in this first ever Primals spawning pool. That was really cool. Just interesting. Nice little touches.
Sarah has nothing to lose except her humanity at this point, but she has everything to gain by destroying Mansk and being as powerful as she can be. So Sarah makes the choice. Zervan offers it to her. Are you prepared to give up everything to be the most powerful you can be? She says yes. She evolves, and we see the Queen of Blades, question mark. Again, she has retained or returned to what she was before, but there is something a little bit different in her attitude, even in the way that she carries herself. It is familiar territory, being that powerful again, but there is something that's different, and this is what Zeratul was trying to guide her to do. And of course, if Zeratul's telling her, hey, you should evolve, she'd be like, I'm not going to listen to some Protoss guy I just fought, okay?
That just like put his hand on my face.
Yeah, and tell me where to go, you know?
Yeah.
Again, the wisdom of Zeratul. Let me make sure you're on the right path and stay out of your way, and Zervan pretty much took over. Wisdom of Zeratul, man. He knows what he's
like,
doing.
evolve, and she's like, okay.
Going into a very, very interesting, intriguing conversation that Zervan has with Sarah Kerrigan about Amon and about who Amon was and the power that Sarah has. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
I feel as if I can rip worlds apart.
And are you the equal of Amon, who once controlled you?
He never controlled me. I felt an influence. A trace of something dark but long gone. Amon must have died before I was infested.
I hope it is so, for he truly could rip worlds apart.
I love that conversational piece between those two characters. They're talking about a character we have never seen, really. We've seen the dark voice in portraits and heard his voice, but the real true power of Amon we have not yet experienced yet as an audience. We get a glimmer of that in those words. He truly could rip worlds apart. I love that piece because that gives you the bigger sense of dread of, whoa, what is this thing that lurks in the darkness we don't know yet?
Oh yeah, and I also wanted to add it in that conversation. It seems like Kerrigan, again showing this newfound reborn Kerrigan. She's kind of listening intently. Of course, she's still taking part in the conversation, but she's like, "No, you're not an idiot." She doesn't do any of that stuff. She kind of just holds her own. She hangs out because at the same time she's learning. She doesn't know who this dark voice character is.
Mm-hmm. And how she says that he must have died before my infestation, the Overmind was still carrying out what Amon wanted. And there's this influence again of Amon, and she's saying that the influence is gone. It's no more. Let's take a look at the side-by-side comparison of Sarah Kerrigan. On the right is Kerrigan from Wings of Liberty. You'll notice the glowing eyes. On the left is Kerrigan from Heart of the Swarm. I feel that those glowing eyes is a visual representation of the influence of Amon upon Sarah. And without that influence, we see the Sarah Kerrigan on the left in Heart of the Swarm. Also, her psionic abilities, the purple patterns, lines on her face, there is a difference. There is more of a glow to her. And I find it, even in just the simple art style of the two different types of Queen of Blades or infested Sarah Kerrigans, to me, I could see an impactful difference visually.
And the differences really are, on the right-hand side, we had that tainted Queen of Blades, On the left-hand side, we have this non-tainted, primal, very raw, full of energy Queen of Blades. So again, it was the difference between this tainted Queen of Blades and this primal Queen of Blades, as we could probably call her.
It seems the primal is way more powerful.
Which kind of makes the more purpley version scarier. A person that's softer spoken and more reserved has a tendency to kind of give you like a sense of fear because they're not so predictable. If someone's just like an angry, really rude, like could just like kill you in a heartbeat, I mean, you know what you're up against. But if someone's more quiet and reserved, makes them very much more dangerous.
Yeah, well, the Zerg are not really known for their stealth except for a couple instances. And Sarah's cunning, especially in Brood War, was more of her human side rather than her Zerg side, and that's how they were able to, the Protoss and the Terran work with her because she was saying, listen, they don't have as much control over me because the Overmind's dead, and then you turn out, oh, I just was trying to get control of myself. Die, Phoenix, and that's, that's what happened. So now you have this even more of an influence of the human side of Sarah, and you have to wonder if she's really in control, if she is herself, if she's not influenced, but at the same time can feel every part of the swarm in the Corpuru sector. Whoa. I mean, you don't
Can
want
I
to
get an Amon?
Yeah. that was 6 out of 10 on puns. 6 out of 10, Lauren. All right. I knew that was going to happen.
Amon.
Yeah. Great.
Think back, this primal Queen of Blades is now the same Queen of Blades with this ghost training background as a Terran. So she's able to utilize all those skills that she remembered. Obviously, she was able to do the same. But again, Amon still had that taint on her. So there was always that little plot, that was going to be going on regardless of her motives.
Well, someone else saw something in her, and his name was Zervan, and he, once again, Lauren, is a traitor in a way.
Oh, yeah.
In a way. So, Kevin, why don't you guide us through what happened in this particular sense with Zervan and the boss battle and whatnot? Why was he a traitor?
I mean, why don't we take a step back?
Okay.
He was actually okay. We take a step back, and he was actually trying to get her to evolve. He wanted her to evolve for what she believed was to make her a much better human being. No, of course not. Everybody's a traitor, it seems like, in the world of, or the StarCraft universe. And if we go back, remember that whole essence thing, right, Clutch? Essence?
Essence?
So going back to this whole essence concept, Zervan, again, the Primal Zerg also wanted the essence. Zervan decided if he gets her to reclaim and become this primal Queen of Blades, he would be able to, very straightforward, take over her essence and take over all the powers that she has had in the past, as well as this whole new primal Queen of Blades with all her new powers and skills, etc. So this is very interesting. And go ahead, Clutch.
Well, it's also, he's not really a traitor because he had his own ends to begin with, and he simply wants her to evolve because he's the most evolved life form on the planet, most likely, and now she is stronger
like
than him.
Primal Overmind, right?
Kind
in
of.
a sense.
It's that's what fuels that species is they want to overcome their enemies, something that's more powerful than them, acquire that essence, and evolve. And what was kind of neat is you didn't see it coming, but you kind of did. But Sarah, how she acted, it's like, I was waiting for you to make your move. Like, whoa, Sarah, whoa, you're a couple steps ahead of me as an audience member. This is pretty neat. So I thought that they did that very well. They did it in a way that wasn't cheesy or, well, of course, he's going to betray her. I was so fascinated by who he was and the knowledge that he was giving her that I was a little taken back, like, oh, now I have to kill him. Oh, well.
So she may have come to understand this as she defeated those, I believe it was 3 other major Primal Zerg, kind of heroes, if you will. Yeah, the Primal Pack leaders. As she defeated them and took their essence and took their skills, powers, it might have been where she kind of realized, maybe this is what Zervan wanted at the end of the day. And then, of course, we end up fighting and killing Zervan.
Yeah, that's what makes Sarah such a dangerous, dangerous person in the world. But also she acquired an ally in this fight from the Primal Zerg. What's his name, Kevin?
Dahaka. So we have this cool character named Dahaka who, and it seems like, is all about getting essences. Right, Clutch?
All about the essence. All about the essence. That joke's dead. We got to move on.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So basically, he kind of joins Kerrigan's swarm. He understands that she's a very powerful hero. He sees that she defeats Zervan. Again, he's trying to claim the essences. He wants to kind of take over, similar to how Zagara does, but at the same time, he understands Kerrigan very, very powerful, and that the more she just does stuff with him, like if they're allied, he can basically reap the benefits by gaining the essences. And at the end of the day, she gets help from Dahaka and his Primal Zerg tribe. So they both benefit from this weird alliance, kind of similar to Zagara again. So as of this point right now, we now have Kerrigan and the reborn swarm that she has at her disposal, as well as the Primal Zerg being led up by Dahaka, who is under Kerrigan's influence, again, in addition to Zagara and her brood. So this is a nice place to stop for now. Why don't you go ahead and take it up, Clutch?
Well, Dahaka to me, when you represent the Primal Zerg and the tribe that he brings over, I really enjoyed. I felt he was underdeveloped. And I would have loved to have seen him evolve into something since he's collecting so much essence. He still can't grow an arm. He's got a little T-Rex arm on the side.
He's a really big dude.
He is a big guy, and his leadership is very, very crucial.
Maybe it's all about what's on the inside of him.
Perhaps.
Maybe it's not all about what's on the outside.
Well, but that's
right, because again, essence was the DNA strands, the DNA sequences.
Yeah.
So
well, I hope that we get to see more of him in Legacy of the Void some way. I felt that he added. And almost the back and forth he would have with Zagara, and how Zagara was so, you can't talk to the queen like that. She is the swarm. And Dahaka's like, essence. I'm just hearing an essence, you know. But hopefully we'll see more of him, and I felt maybe a growth. Maybe he gets his arm back, or he becomes something amazing at the end. Well, it's just so funny because it's so tiny.
It's like Nemo over here.
You actually you find the arm in the game if you look around some areas. It's like, oh, there's Dahaka's right arm. It's sitting there in the game. Anyways, it was another neat character. The Primal Zerg to me was fascinating. To see Guardians once again in the game.
Oh yeah. That was so
awesome. Cool. And I love that I actually went to the history of the Zerg because we are seeing the core of where it all started and how that is so important to where it's all going to end. We have so much more to talk about. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We come back. One of the biggest surprises of all time, of all video games. We're going to cover that. Don't go anywhere.